Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the hidden power dynamics that are shaping, well, the entire future of artificial intelligence. Everyone's talking about an AI gold rush. But what if the real prize isn't the AI itself, but the very ground it's built on?
So let's just kick things off with this bombshell of a claim from our source material. It kind of flips the whole narrative on the AI investment boom on its head. It suggests that while we're all seeing these billions of dollars flooding into AI startups, the tech giants, they're playing a totally different game.
And that leads us right into our first section. We're going to explore the financial playbook being used by the tech giants. The companies that provide the essential cloud infrastructure that, let's be honest, every single major AI model needs to even exist. Our source material calls this a circular financing loop, and it's pretty wild. Here's how it works. An AI startup needs a mind-boggling amount of compute power. A cloud provider like Amazon, Google, or Microsoft swoops in and invests $1 billion. But then, and this is the kicker, that money immediately comes right back to them as payment for using their cloud. The result? The tech giant gets its cash back, plus they now have a permanent ownership stake in the startup. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that sounds like a neat trick, but is it actually happening? Well, this isn't just some theory. Let's look at the real-world numbers for one of the biggest names in AI, Anthropic, and see how this plays out. And here you can see it in black and white. The three biggest cloud providers, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, what we call the hyperscalers, have snapped up huge chunks of Anthropic. You add it all up, and they own somewhere between a third and almost half of the entire company. All in all, they've poured about $25 billion into the company. Now, that's a staggering amount of cash, no doubt. It's fueled Anthropic's insane growth. But that's really only half the story. Because here's where that loop really closes. Anthropic has committed to spending a far, far greater amount. We're talking 75 to over $100 billion back on those exact same companies' cloud services. So the investment doesn't just come back, it comes back multiplied several times over. Now, this slide points out why this is so different from, say, the dot-com bubble. Back then, you had Cisco giving loans to startups so they could buy Cisco's equipment. Cisco was a creditor. When those startups went bust, Cisco lost billions. Today, big tech isn't just lending money, they're buying ownership. They become permanent shareholders. So if the AI company fails, hey, they probably got their money back in cloud fees. But if it succeeds, they own a piece of a titan. It's an incredible win-win situation for them. And this really gets to the core of the strategy. It's the absolutely astronomical cost of training a top-tier AI model. We're talking billions in computing power that only a handful of companies can provide. That cost barrier, well, that is the control mechanism. Okay, so this consolidation of money and ownership, it naturally leads to a really critical question that's about more than just finance. If ownership gets centralized into the hands of just a few infrastructure providers, what does that mean for who actually controls what these powerful systems do? For safety, for alignment. And that question of control brings us to a parallel trend that's happening inside the AI labs themselves. This race to automate AI's own conscience, to basically build a machine that learns to correct itself. A really key innovation here, pioneered by Anthropic, is something called constitutional AI. The idea is brilliant, really. You give the AI a set of guiding principles, a constitution, and then you teach it how to review and correct its own answers based on those principles. It learns to be harmless from the inside out, without needing a human to sit there and flag every single bad response. Let's break down how this actually works. As you can see here, it's a two-step process. First, the model generates a response. Then, it critiques its own work against the principles in its constitution, and then it rewrites it to be better. That creates a whole new set of safer examples. Then, in the second stage, the AI learns to prefer these safer responses, basically teaching itself, using its own AI-generated feedback. It's pretty amazing.
And a huge goal here is to solve a really old problem in AI safety. For a long time, making an AI safer usually meant making it less useful. It would just refuse to answer tough questions. Constitutional AI aims for the best of both worlds, an assistant that is both helpful and harmless. And the results really speak for themselves. On a chart like this, you want to be in the top right corner. That means more helpful and more harmless. The older models, in blue and orange, show that trade-off. But look at the models trained with constitutional AI, in gray and black. They shoot up and to the right. They actually get more harmless without losing their helpfulness. It's a clear win.
So this whole shift toward automated built-in safety, well, it's actually mirrored in the very corporate structures that the top AI labs have created for themselves.
And this slide shows a really fundamental difference in philosophy. You've got OpenAI on one side, with a nonprofit foundation that has ultimate control. Their safety check is a committee that can review and delay products before they go out. It's a reactive approach. Anthropic, on the other hand, uses something called a long-term benefit trust, made up of trustees who have no financial stake in the company, and they get to elect the board. Their approach is proactive. It's all about choosing the right people to make the decisions in the first place.
Someone put the difference beautifully. OpenAI's safety guardian is standing at the gate, checking products before they leave. Anthropic's guardian is standing at the door to the throne room, deciding who gets to be king. So, we have these two massive trends, the consolidation of money and the automation of mission. How on earth do they come together? Well, that brings us to our final section. And this is where it all clicks into place. These two trends aren't just happening at the same time, they are feeding each other in this powerful feedback loop. The need for infrastructure gives big tech ownership. At the same time, automated safety tools like constitutional AI make the AI models more predictable and less risky. That lower risk makes the AI startups themselves more stable, more valuable long-term assets, which of course makes the equity that big tech owns even more valuable. It's a cycle that just keeps reinforcing itself.
So this suggests where the real power in this industry is headed. It's not just about owning the data centers anymore. The ultimate control comes from owning the physical hardware and having influence over the digital constitutions that decide how the AI actually thinks and behaves on that hardware.
Which leaves us with one final and I think absolutely vital question. As we build these incredible AI systems that can correct and govern themselves based on a set of principles, the most important question of all becomes, who gets to write those principles? Who gets to write the Constitution?